We are all affected by the problems of others. Of course, you want to help someone with a problem. It can be the sighing colleague who keeps us from work, the friend with a heartache that we would like to see happy again, a partner who wonders if it's not time for another job. Offering help in the form of practical tips or advice is often our first reaction. Logical, because by helping we feel useful, more connected to other people, and our own suffering becomes a little less palpable. But don't play the role of Superman immediately. There is a downside of helping too much or giving unwanted advice. That's what I am talking about today. I'm a healthcare psychologist and therapist, and I make videos on psychology and mental health topics. When we sense that someone else is hurting or suffering in some way, we want to help. But even though it is kind and feels good to help someone, we can easily become absorbed and help too much. And while it appears to be based on a desire to help others, the underlying reason for wanting to rescue someone is so that they will need us. A rescuer needs to be needed, because deep down he or she believes that there is only way they will be worthy and lovable. Maybe you are someone who is inclined to think alone with a friend who is unhappy in a relationship. But no matter what you say, he or she will remain unhappy with his or her partner. And that can make you frustrated. It feels like your friend isn't listening to you when you're trying so hard. Any advice, especially uninvited, that has not been followed often leads to unspoken irritation. So prevent the other person's problem from costing you energy without the desired effect. Just because someone needs help doesn't mean that you have to rescue them. There are times when you are better off to stay out of the fray. It helps the other parties learn to resolve their own problems and develop solutions. Furthermore, rescuing is emotionally draining. You will find yourself tired and out of energy or out of focus even when you have work to be done. Because this dynamic only serves to keep you tied to people who demand your service to them while they give little or nothing to you in return. Your job is to look after yourself. People need to learn to help themselves. In order not to always fall into a rescue trap, try to lean back in the first instance with non-life-threatening problems. Before you come up with advice, turn on your empathy switch first. So, acknowledge the other person's problem. Listen and ask questions. Then you investigate whether someone actually wants your advice or help. You can ask that directly, but you can also notice that just listening is actually enough. That is easier said than done because of the guilt feeling which can pop up in such situations. If you find yourself feeling guilty, it may be because of underlying fear. Maybe you are worried that your friend is disappointed in you, or your coworker doesn't think you are social. But being always ready to help out of fear is certainly exhausting in the long run. If the other person does ask for help, it's still up to you whether you want to offer it and for how long. Talking to a colleague about that annoying boss once after work is fine, but if it happens every week, it will quickly turn into an energy leak. Even with a problem that directly affects you, for example, if it concerns your partner, it's not up to you to come up with solutions. The best way to help is by listening and asking questions. Later you can still ask, Do you want to know what I think about it? Or how do you want me to help you? Helping by sitting back and listening can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to jumping straight to the action. But it's not for nothing that psychologists use this method to help their clients, because people benefit most from the solutions they come up with themselves. They suit them best and last the longest. So, what's the right way to offer help? Using the examples I will give you right now, you can overcome the urge to jump into the action or direct advice to someone. Imagine your colleague is frustrated and says something like, "I'm so disappointed, what a bad system." He or she sighs but does not specifically ask for help. Here's what you can do. Turn on your empathy switch and empathize by acknowledging the other person's problem. You might say, "How annoying! Obviously, I always struggle with that as well." Avoid jumping straight into the action mode. There is a fine line between supporting and fixing. First, check what is expected of you. You can ask, "Can I do something? What can I do to help you?" If the other person indicates that he or she has to solve it themselves, you can respond with, "How annoying that no one can help you. Let me know if you change your mind." Another example. One of your friends is sad and says to you, "I can't believe this can happen. I've never been so sad." He or she would love to see the current situation change, but realizes that this is impossible. What can you do about this? There is in fact no solution to this problem. You can't fix this for the other person, so don't even try, no matter how powerless it feels. Show empathy by listening sincerely and asking questions like, "How did you feel? What do you need?" If you notice that the other person doesn't know anymore, you can offer concrete help. "Shall I cook for you tonight?" Accept it if the other says no. It's okay to give advice sometimes, but do not expect the other to follow it. That you might feel aggrieved. So don't impose your own solution. Don't say you should go for a walk that can be very relaxing. Another example. Imagine that your partner looks for a solution and asks, "What do you think about it? Can you help me with this?" Remember that the best is if he or she finds their own solution. Avoid immediately responding to this sometimes somewhat compelling question. First, turn on your empathy switch again. Give an answer such as, "That sounds complicated." Then, depending on the situation, help your partner to explore the problem without giving direct advice. You can do this by asking your partner a question. "What do you need right now, the most of all?" Or, "What do you think you are going to do?" Then you may ask, "What can I do to help you?" And finally, letting others solve their problems gives you a chance to work on your listening and empathizing skills. When you free yourself from stressing over other people's problems, handing them back their own hot potatoes, you will find yourself with more time and emotional resources. You will take better care of yourself. Let me know in the comments if you find yourself spending too much time on other people's problems. I would love for you to support me with a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell and to share this video with your friends. Thank you for staying with me. See you next time.